Today, we will take a look at how to connect to SQL Server from Power BI. Okay. Okay. And now what I'll do is I will just go to the SQL Server. This is my SQL Server. Look here, I'm going to create a fresh database from the beginning. So you know how to open the SQL Server, right? The SSMS. You need to, after you have installed successfully the SSMS, you go to the start button, type SSMS. Okay. How do I go to the start button? Press window key in your keyboard. And then here you just type SSMS and you will see the SSMS icon here. Okay. This is what your tool. This is your front end. Okay, this is the front end for your SQL Server backend. Okay, so in the SQL Server Management Studio, this is where we are going to write these scripts. We are going to create the tables. You can create the table. You can load the data into the table. Everything you can do it here. But in the case of SQL Server, so what is my SQL Server name? You can see that when you click on the SSMS and the start button, right? It will launch the tool like this. It will launch the SQL Server Management Studio. Initially, it will show you the database engine and the SQL Server name and then authentication. You don't have to change anything. Simply click on connect. It will get connected to your SQL Server Management Studio. Henceforth, I'm going to use this shorter form SSMS. So why SSMS? SSMS is helpful in terms of writing your queries, in a pretty simple way. Just point and click, you're all set. You can create a simple, basic, the scripts you can generate it here. Even the complex script also you can generate it here. Without further, you don't have to be familiar with the SQL query syntax and all. Okay. Now I'll show you how to create the database. Since few of you requested, right? I just click on the database here. Currently, right now, I'm in SSMS tool and I just got connected. This is my server name, localhost SQL Express 03. So, these things you can find it under the Object Explorer. On the left side, you will find the Object Explorer. And just beneath the Object Explorer, you can see the connect. We have various connection options. If you click on the database engine, if you want to connect it one more time, you can click on it and you can connect it. The server type is the database engine and server name is this one. And you don't have to type anything. It will pick up automatically. In case you have any issues, you let me know that I will sort it offline. Okay. And the authentication is the Windows authentication. Don't change anything. Simply click on connect. It will get connected here. Okay. And then you will find, like this kind of folders. Next to the databases, you will find the plus icon. When you click on it, it will get expanded. I'm going to select the databases. Now I want to create a new database. Right click on it and I'm going to click on the new database. It open another window. So you can see that the database name here. This is where you need to type the database name. I'm going to say, one second. I'm going to say supply chain analytics. This is my database name. You can give whatever name that you wanted. Okay, supply chain analytics. This is my database name. One second, I'll use different color. Sorry. Okay, here I mentioned the database name. That's it. Type the database name and then directly hit the OK button here. Don't do anything else. Simply type the database name and then hit the OK button. Your database will be ready in a matter of jiffy. I just click on OK. Wait for a few seconds. Your base will be ready. Yes, on the left side, you can see that the supply chain analytics database got created. This database currently has empty data in it. When you click on the plus icon next to the supply chain analytics database, it will get expanded. You can see the objects that are available in it. This is the default one. We did not create it, but behind the scene, the SQL Server create these objects and the folders relevant to this new database. Okay. And if you create any new table, you can find the tables created by you under this folder, tables. If you create any views, you will find those views under this folder. Okay, next to the tables, when you click on this plus icon, you will find the table which you have created. In our case, we have not yet created any tables. We are yet to create the table. And now what I do is, instead of using the typical create table command or creating the table here itself, what I will do is I'm going to load an Excel file data into SQL Server quickly. And this one I already explained you. Anyhow, I will repeat it one more time. So now I have selected the database because you have a lot of databases. Forget about the system databases. Don't touch this at any cost. And you have created your own database. Likewise, different databases are there. Okay, again, the question is, do I need to create the databases as a developer? No. In the real-time scenario, you're not going to create any database. It is the responsibility of the database administrator. They are the one responsible for creating the databases on your behalf. Databases, even table creation, any object creation, including the database, it is the responsibility of the database administrator. There is a dedicated person. He's the one who has to do this one. But in your case, since you want to learn the SQL also, you need to install it in your laptop, everything, and you need to create the database for the learning purpose. You need to create the tables, everything. Okay. But once you get into a project, let's say once you get a job and once you get onboarded into any project, you don't have to do anything from your side. It is the responsibility of the database administrator. As a developer, you are supposed to write SQL query stored procedure in the SSMS or SQL Server. Okay, that is what your responsibility. Not you don't have the responsibility to create the tables or views and all. Okay, fine. So this is my database name. Now what I do is I'm going to load two Excel file data into this SQL Server. SQL Server says in the SQL Server within this database, I'm going to load this. See, this is what my SQL Server. This is what my SQL Server. Within this, a single SQL Server can have multiple databases. Demo, DB, all multiple databases you can create as part of a single SQL Server, and each database can have more than one tables. Please remember this. This is very fundamental thing. You need to remember it. So now what I do is I'm going to load the Excel file data into the SQL Server supply chain analytics database. For that, I just click on this database. You need to choose which database you want to load the Excel file data. I just selected this database, right click on it. And then here you will find the task. And if you hover the cursor here, you will find a context menu like this. You need to click on the import data. Now you need to tell, what is the source, what is the destination? What is the source? We wanted to load the Excel file. That is what my source. The destination is what? My supply chain analytics database that is available in my SQL Server. So you need to tell the source file to this one, Microsoft Excel. This is the data source. And then where the Excel file is available, what is the name of the file? That you need to specify here. Click on the browse. Here I'm going to say dim customer.xls. I'm going to load the customer dimension Excel file into the supply chain data analytics database, which is available in SQL Server. So this file name and the corresponding folder also got selected. Okay. And now I'm going to click on the next button. And now I need to tell the destination where you need to load it. So now I need to tell the driver name. This is a connection driver. Okay. And this is the destination from the Excel to SQL Server load the data. And server name, you need to mention it. Maybe in an enterprise, multiple SQL Server will also be there. Okay. Fine. And which database you want to load it? Supply chain analytics. And next, you need to click on the next. SQL Server is something like the city where you live. And within that city, in which street you live, that is what your database. You just think about it. In your state, many people they live, right? So likewise, in the case of database, we can store any number of objects. All right, I am going to click on the next. And this is the sheet. In this Excel sheet, we have only one sheet. And I'm going to click on the preview to check any data are available or these data are really useful. Yes, We have oddly 6 customers are there. I'm going to hit OK now and click on next. And I'm going to click on finish upfront. I'm done with this. Great. I can see that 6 rows got loaded into my supply chain analytics database, which is part of my SQL server. I'm going to close this. See, there are different ways of creating the table. This is one way of creating the table. Supposing your manager has given you the Excel file and he wants you to load the data into SQL Server, this is how you can load it. This is one of the common practice that we do it. Okay. Look here, when I click on the file tables folder, which is available in my supply chain analytics database, nothing is showing now. You need to click on this refresh button. Look here, now the table is visible, but unfortunately it is not displaying the file name correctly. What was the file name? DIM customer. DIM stands for dimension. That is the naming convention we use it. The customer dimension table will have the customer data in it, customer ID, customer name, address, everything. I just renamed it. How did I rename this? Just select this, right click on it and click on the rename. And here you can rename the table. This is how I renamed this table. Fine. Now we made sure that the Excel file dim customer.xls data got loaded successfully into this database. How can I view the data here? And just next to the table, the plus icon is there. You click on it, and you can see a lot of objects even for this table and columns, keys, constraints, many things. Let us not worry about it. And when you click on the plus icon, which is next to the columns, you can find all the columns that belongs to this table: customer ID, first name, last name, gender, everything. And I believe all of you have noticed that one, right? In the Excel file, these are the columns. These are the 4 columns. We have seen it already. Now I want to view the data. Okay, I've seen the table name and I can see the column names that belongs to this table. And where can I see the data? Keep the cursor on top. Select this database. Sorry, table. Right click on it and select top 1000 rows. I just pointed this. I just selected this, right clicked on it. And again, I'm going to click on it. All I did was select, click, that's it. Okay, look here, the query got generated automatically. I did not write the SQL query. The query got generated automatically and then it got executed and we can see the output for the query here in the result window. There are 2 types of window here. One is the results and messages. The messages, you can see any warning or any issue with the data or loading, right? Error message or warning, you can see it here. And the message, the common message, we are seeing it. 6 rows got loaded and how much time it took to load the data. Sorry, to retrieve the data and how many columns are there. So you can see all the column data here in the results pane. This query, I did not write it. I just simply selected the table name, right clicked on it, select top 1000 rows. That's it. It is that much simple. That is the reason why this tool, SSMS, became very popular. Most of the SQL Server developers, they use only the SSMS tool. All right, so what is so big deal now? What am I going to do? What is the next step? So what I'm going to do is, for the sake of continuity, once again, I'm going to select the database and I'm going to right click on it, go to the task and then import, click on the import data. I'm going to load one more Excel file into this supply chain analytics database. And I need to tell what type of file. It's an Excel file and give me the path of this one, sales fact. And it automatically determines, it automatically finds out the Excel version. Okay, it's a older version of the Excel file, XLS. Now the latest version is XLSX, right? And now the file got selected along with the path name. The next one is you need to tell the destination. Here the destination driver is SQL Server native client. So now what we are saying is, hey, pick up the salesfact.xls file, which is available under the D drive dat1 folder, and then load the data into supply chain analytics database. Supply chain, and this database is available in this server. We have given enough details. Click on the next. And you can see two sheets here. As part of the salesfact.xls, there are, in this Excel file, there are two sheets are there. You click on each sheet and then preview it to check which sheet data you want loaded. I'm pretty sure I just wanted to load only this sheet data into my supply chain analytics database. Now I'm going to click on the next button and next, and I'm going to hit the finish button. That's it. We're all set. Look here, 92 rows got loaded here. 92 rows got loaded successfully, and I'm going to close it. And now, as usual, we could not see the table which we have imported just now. And I'm going to click on the refresh button. And once again, I'm going to expand the tables folder. Now I can see the new table or the Excel file which I loaded here. In this case, instead of displaying the Excel file name as itself, right, it displays the sheet name. So I need to rename it. So what I do is I just right click on it and rename it with the meaningful name, sales fact. Press enter, we are all set. And I want to see the data that are available in this table. Right click on it. Again, click on the select 1000. Look here, in this table, we have more number of columns. It generates the query automatically. And you can see the data in the results pane. And also you can see the number of rows that got loaded at the right bottom here. Okay. Supposing you don't need a couple of columns. Okay, you don't need a couple of, for example, F12, F13, it is nowhere related to your analytics. Your manager is, did not ask you anything about that column. Remove those columns, and then you select this query and click on execute. Okay, you can find the execute button here. Can you all see it here? So you can see the execute button here, and you can click on the execute. So now when you execute this one, this query will get executed. In this query, you will not find in this query output, you will not find F12, F13, F14 because I removed it. So this is one way of executing the query. The other way of executing the query is F5. You can press F5. If you are a keyboard person, press F5. Okay, now if you see the query output, you don't see the F12, 13, 14, right? That column got excluded. So now you understood the fundamental thing, right? How to load the data from your Excel file into a specific database that is available in SQL Server. Very good. So far, we loaded two tables. One is the customer dimension table, other one is sales fact table. Now I jump to the Power BI desktop. This is my Power BI desktop. And look here, in this case, what I do is, you know how to launch the Power BI desktop. Go to the, press the Windows key button in your laptop and then type Power BI desktop. And click on the Power BI desktop. It will open, launch the Power BI desktop like this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up certain things here. I just delete this one. But in your case, you will have an empty report. Now I click on the get data icon to connect to the SQL Server. Okay. Or you can click on the SQL Server icon here itself. Okay. There are two options. You can click on the get data, and here you will find the SQL Server icon here. If you wanted to connect to SQL Server, you need to click on the appropriate connector. Okay. You can select it here or you can select it here. Okay. Anyhow, I'm going to click on it here, SQL Server. Okay. What is the next step? Next step, I need to specify the server name here. I just go to the SQL. This is my SSMS tool. And I am going to click on the connect database engine. And here SQL Server is already there. I right click on it, copy it. And then I go back to my Power BI desktop. What we are doing now, we wanted to connect to the tables which we have created a while back via Power BI desktop. Okay. And the database name is optional, and the default connectivity mode is import and directory. This is very important. Please remember this. When we loaded the Excel file, CSV file, it was not showing data connectivity mode like this. This is specific to certain source systems, which includes SQL Server database also. And here the import connectivity mode I selected. I'm going to click on OK. 1 second. And you need to wait for some time. It'll Power BI desktop will connect to your establish a connection with your SQL Server. Now it got established a connection with my SQL Server. This is my SQL Server. Within this SQL Server, we have different databases. Which database we created? Supply chain analytics. Okay, and here I'm going to select the customer dimension table. The moment when you select this one, on the right side, you can see the preview window. With this, you can make sure that you are loading the correct data into Power BI desktop. So now the customer dimension table is available in my supply chain analytics database, which is part of my SQL Server. This data, the table, I'm going to load it locally into my Power BI desktop. I will load this data into my Power BI desktop. Click on OK. You will get some security risk and all. That is just a warning. You can ignore it. Click on that. Click on OK. Your table data got loaded. 1 second. How can I see that? On the right extreme right corner, right? The top right corner, you will under the data pane, you'll find the dim customer here, right? The customer dimension got loaded from where? From SQL Server database to my Power BI desktop. It got loaded. Instead of saying the table got loaded in my Power BI desktop, the table got loaded into my model. You just remember that way. When you click on this model view, you'll find this table name. Where look here, the table. You need to scroll sometimes, right? It'll be hidden somewhere here. You need to scroll towards the right side, and probably you can drag it to your left side. This is the table we loaded. This table came from where? SQL Server. But the SQL Server table, the dim customer data got loaded once again into my Power BI desktop. Already for this table, the data is available in SQL Server. And the same data we have loaded into my Power BI desktop model. Fine. And next, I just go to the report view. And once again, I'm going to click on the SQL Server because we have one more table is available. In this case, I just use Control V. Sorry, here. I just select it here. Already, I have the SQL Server name in my keyboard clipboard that is available. And I'm going to, this time, I'm going to select direct query. Since I have selected import for the customer dimension table, the customer dimension table from the SQL Server got loaded locally into my Power BI desktop report, this report file. Okay. And now I'm going to select the direct query. I'm not using the import connectivity mode, direct query mode. In this case, I'm going to hit OK. Simply, I'm going to hit OK. Once again, it will connect, it will establish a connection with the SQL Server. It got established. This is my SQL Server. In this SQL Server, these are all the databases that are available. Which database you wanted to access it? I want to access the supply chain analytics. In this database, I want to select the fact table, sales fact table. I need the sales fact table data to be available in my Power BI desktop. Hence, I selected this table. Next to that, make sure that you need to click on this. Okay, otherwise you will not find the window here, the preview window. Okay, it is available, and you just scroll towards the right side and take a look at your data set. Okay, and with this you can understand that F12, F13, F14 columns are having blank values. These columns are nowhere helpful because it doesn't have any data in it, and the column names are also something absurd, right? So what I'll do is, okay, fine. These three columns, I can drop it. That is a different story altogether. But all the data seems to be good for me. I'm going to hit the load button. So in the preview window, you can see three buttons. When you click on the cancel, it is pretty straightforward. The data will not get loaded here. If you click on the transform data, it will take you to the kitchen. What do you mean by kitchen? So there is nothing called kitchen. I use the analogy, as kitchen for our Power Query editor. That is where we do the cleaning, everything. Okay. So if you click on this, the data will get loaded into your Power Query editor for cleaning purpose. So now what it is, no, you don't do any cleaning. Don't load it in Power Query editor. Instead, you load the data first into my Power BI desktop. Hence, I'm going to click on the load button. It will take for a while to load this sales fact table data into this one. But since we have used the direct connection mode, the sales fact table and the columns only will get loaded into this one. Only the metadata will get loaded. Look here on the left top corner. You can see the data here. Okay, so you can see that sales fact table got loaded here. And when you click on this icon, it will get expanded. It will show all the columns that are available as part of your sales fact table. Okay, what is so big deal? Okay, the big deal is you want to see the data. I just want to see the data for these two tables, customer and dimension sales fact table. And if you switch to the data view, currently, since this table is the first one, it shows the data for the customer dimension. When I click on the sales fact table, you will not find the data here. Why? In this case, we have used the direct connectivity mode. Remember, when I clicked on the SQL Server icon, and when I know there were options like specify the SQL Server name, and database name was optional. And the next one was data connectivity mode, import or direct. I selected direct for sales fact table. Hence, it is not displaying the data. So what do you mean by direct? I will explain, listen very carefully. This is a very important topic. So this is your Power BI. Okay, this is your Power BI, Power BI desktop. What we are seeing is the Power BI desktop. When you use the direct query mode, what will happen is, this is my SQL Server. In this SQL Server, the sales fact table is available. Okay, yes, this sales fact table is available under which database? Supply Chain Analytics. Okay. End of the day, this table is available on SQL Server. So when you use the direct query mode, what happens is the Power BI desktop, in the Power BI desktop, for example, you create a chart, you create a column chart or something like that. What happens is this visual will generate, the Power BI desktop will create a SQL query. That SQL query will be sent directly to your SQL Server. For example, in this case, let's say you want to select some column, let's product ID, and then the quantity from sales fact table. This query, in the case of direct query mode, it generates the query and then it sends the query to the source system. For Power BI, the source system, the current source system is SQL Server. In this case, right, we are using the SQL Server database, SQL Server database or server, okay? And the table name is sales fact. What Power BI does is, whenever you use the direct connectivity mode, in this case, it simply loads the table name only here in your Power BI desktop. Table name, and then the column names for column 1, column 2, all the columns that belongs to the table. In this case, the sales fact table. And then the column names for the sales fact table only will get loaded into your Power BI desktop. The data will not get loaded into your Power BI desktop. Instead, the data will reside wherever it is there. Wherever it is there. Okay, on a need basis, it goes, right? So, for example, you want to view this report, you want to create this visual, a query will be generated, and then it will be sent to this SQL Server database table, and then this query will get executed here on top of this table, and then the output will be sent back to this one, to your report file. Okay. Step 1, what are the steps in the case of direct query mode? In the case of direct query mode, what happens is, the first step is, it generates the SQL query in the case of direct query mode. Okay. And then the query will be sent to your SQL Server where the data resides, or the way the table resides. And then the query will get executed here. This query will run here in the SQL Server. The output of the query will be sent back to your Power BI report file. So why direct query mode is required? Can't we load the data of this sales fact table into my Power BI desktop itself? You can, But the sales fact in real times, the fact tables will have huge volume of the data. For example, you have 100 million records are there in the sales fact table. Okay, just because I want to see last 5 days sales performance, if I load 100 million data into my Power BI desktop, it takes a lot of time. This is not acceptable because every a reporting user nowadays, they don't have patience. They want to see the output in a matter of 10 minutes, 5 minutes. There are some cases they want to see the report in a matter of seconds. Okay, they don't have patience to wait because time to market is very critical. Based on the report, they want to make certain decisions quickly. Okay, in real time also sometimes they need to make the decision. So in this case, what happens is in the case of direct query mode, the data resides wherever it is. It will not get loaded here. Number one. Number two is if you create any visual, okay, on a need basis and is based on your visual, it generates this query, and then the query will be sent to your SQL server, and the query will get executed. The output of that one will be sent back to your visual. Because to view 1 week sales performance, let's say the sales fact table have 5 years data in it, right? 5 years put together, 100 million records are there, right? In that case, if you download the 100 million data here, and then if you do all kind of data cleaning, it takes a lot of, and also you will not have space here, right? 100 million, if you download it, it requires a lot of network bandwidth, a lot of storage space here. With this direct query mode, you don't have this headache. You don't require storage space. All you need to just generate the query, send it to your SQL server. It's like the simple analysis, something like, the Swiggy app. Swiggy is the food app, right? Swiggy or Dunzo, Swiggy app. So, the Power BI is something like it raises the query. Hey, I need so-and-so items. I need a, chicken biryani and mutton biryani and then these things. And then the request will be sent to the restaurant. The SQL server is a restaurant. This is where the kitchen is there, big kitchen. Many people are there. So based on the order that you raise it, they will prepare it and then they will send back the order via the delivery person to you. If you have to prepare, only 4 items, right? If you have to set up the entire kitchen here, it is too expensive, isn't it? Instead, what you do is you just order it via this app. The app is kind of your SQL query, and then the request will be sent to this table, and then the query will get executed here. The output of this table will get sent back here. So in this case, what you need in the Swiggy app menu is there, right? Similarly, if you have the table name, column names, that is, more than sufficient, right? That is more than sufficient. If you have the table name column, that is what is called as a metadata. The table name, column name, these are called your metadata, just a skeleton metadata. All right. So now you understood. That's the reason why we are not able to see the data for this sales fact table, because sales fact table, we have used the direct query connectivity mode. Hence, it is not showing the data for the sales fact table here, but it shows the column name, everything. It shows the column name. If you click on this icon next to this, you can see all the columns that belongs to sales fact table here. Very good. And I just go to the switch to the report view. Currently, we are in which view? We are in the data view. I'm going to switch to the report view. The next question is one student, she asked, sir, in the data view, I cannot see that. The same way, can't I see it in the Power Query editor? Okay, to check that, you will go to the, currently I'm in the home ribbon, transform data menu, you click on it and click on the transform data. This is your Power Query editor. So as usual for customer dimension, like you have seen it in the data view, it shows the data for the customer dimension table. When you click on the sales fact table, here it shows the data. Here it shows the data. Though we have used direct connectivity mode for the sales fact table, the data is shown here. This is the one you need to remember it. But the data view, you cannot see the data. But in Power Query Editor, you can see the data for the table for which you have used the direct query mode. All right, the next one is I'll just switch to my model view. This is your data model view. And look here, we have two tables. The one table, customer dimension table, we have used the import connectivity mode. The moment when I hover the cursor here, can you see something on the right side rectangle? The name is dim customer, storage mode is import, storage mode is import. I have used the import connectivity mode. What time and which date that I imported it, everything is available here. Similarly, if you hover the cursor here, it displays the table name and type of the storage mode, okay, the direct query mode, and source type. The source is SQL Server database, and server name, all of the details it gives us, database name, everything. Okay. So you can see the blue colored line on top of this table, right? It tells us this table got loaded with the direct query mode, direct connectivity mode. The storage mode for the sales fact table is direct query. And for this, the storage mode is import, or the connectivity mode is import. Here, direct query mode. The blue line itself, when you see the blue line, you can quickly make out, hey, this is, I've used this direct connectivity mode. You cannot see the data for this table in your data view. Instead, you can see the data for this table in your Power Query data. Okay, all right, fine. So in the case of direct query mode, remember that the data will not get loaded into your model. Instead, the metadata, the table name, and then the column names, plus the relationship will also get loaded. What is the relationship? That I will see customer ID and customer ID. If I drag and drop it here, a link will get created. This is called your relationship. Look here, customer ID and customer ID, and click on OK. A line will get created between these two. So in the case of data model, you need to create the link between the tables, okay? Relationship. Because when it comes to Power BI desktop, data modeling needs to be done. Data modeling, nothing but create the relationship between tables. That's it. We are done. So now you understood how to connect to SQL Server using import connectivity mode and using direct connectivity mode. You understood the difference at a high level. I'm here to talk in detail about these two type of connectivity mode. And apart from this, there are two other type of connectivity modes are there, which I will discuss it later. Okay. Okay, next one is find the table. I have imported one table and I have used the direct connectivity mode to load the table here, metadata into my model. Fine, I did everything, cool. And what am I going to do? For example, I just click on the table visual. In Power BI, we call the charts and table matrix, everything as a visual, okay? Just beneath the visualization pane, I have clicked on this table icon. Look here, it got highlighted. Because I just clicked on it once, it got dropped automatically in my report canvas. So you can resize it. So now the table visual got created with some dummy data so that you will get to know how the table looks like this, look like once I populate the data into this. And what I do is I just bring in the first name from my customer dimension table into my table visual. And then the sales fact table, I'm going to bring the sales amount and then I'll put it here. Yes, Pavi madam, I will just increase the font size, don't worry. All right. So now this column came from where? This column, I took it from my customer dimension table, and this column came from the sales fact table. These two columns, now we got it from two different tables. All right. Okay. Now what I do is, we are done with this. Okay. Next, I'm going to click on the SQL Server once again. I want to show you another scenario. So now I'm going to talk about how you can fire an SQL query. So now the question is, do I have to import the tables here or do I need to load the table here? See, I have an SQL query. We have already, it's a complex SQL query. We have already created the SQL query. Can't I fire the SQL query directly here? instead of loading the tables one after other, can't I, execute an SQL query from my Power BI desktop? Is it possible? You can execute your SQL query in your SQL server itself, but that is also possible now. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to look at the second scenario. First scenario, how to load the tables from SQL Server using import and direct connect mode. We have seen it. And the next scenario 2 is, in scenario 2, what we are going to do is we are going to execute SQL query from Power BI desktop. This is what we are going to do now. And for this, what I do is I just click on the SQL Server once again. Now I just let me see. Yes, the server name is still available. And here I'm going to use the import connectivity. We'll start with the import connect mode and expand the advanced options. I just switch to my SQL Server and see if I have any other queries are readily available. Okay, okay. Let me do one thing here. I'm going to use this query, okay? I just copy this query. I will show you, I'll explain it, don't worry, okay? Here, in the supply chain analytics window, I'm going to select this query. I'm going to execute this one. See, in this case, what I did, listen very carefully. It's a very simple one. It's pretty, the SQL query is very easy to learn because it's a plain English-like language, okay? English language, okay? The select, next to the followed by the select, these are, reserved word. And followed by this, you need to specify the table. And we have two tables, customer dimension table and sales fact table in this case. And I have given an alias for the customer dimension table as C. And I have given alias for the sales fact table as S. For example, so there are some people you see, right? In their home, they use some alias, right? Name. They call him a Babu, but in the office, he will have different name. Something like we have given an alias for these two tables. Customer dimension, we have given an alias as C, and sales fact table, we have given some alias as S. Okay, why do we need to give the alias here? Because you don't have to type the table name. So in this case, we wanted to, take the two columns. So we wanted to extract the columns from two different tables. We want two columns, right? But these two columns are in two different tables. The first name is in customer dimension table. The sales amount is available in my sales fact table. Okay, to extract the columns from more than one table, you need to use the join condition. In the where class, you need to specify the common column between these two. What is the common column between these two tables? I just switch to Power BI desktop. Okay, now I'm in this mode. I cannot show you here. And this is the, this is the thumb rule. Okay, if you want to select the values from more than one table, you need to make sure that you need to join those two tables based on the common column. In my customer dimension table, I have a column called customer ID is available. In my sales fact also, there is something called customer ID is available. In the where class, we need to tell very clearly, hey, in the customer dimension, customer ID, you take it. And then in the sales fact table, customer ID, you need to join these two tables based on this column, the common column. Okay. And I have listed in the from class, I listed all the table name, the customer dimension table, and then in the select column, select command, right? Followed by the select command, you need to specify the column names. And the from class, you need to specify what are the tables that you needed. What are the tables these columns are available. Those table name you need to specify. The where class, why it is required here was, since we need the columns from two different tables, we need to specify the join condition based on the common column. There should be a common column exists between these two tables. Since the customer ID is available in both the tables, now we can join these two tables. So when I execute this query, how did I execute it? Select this query, click on execute here. You can see the output. John, he spent $100. And again, John, in the other day, he spent $200. Likewise, you can see this data. Now I just select this query. Instead of loading the tables one after other, is there any way that I can execute the query in my Power BI desktop itself? Don't ask me why I have to do it in Power BI. That is a different story. That is a different question. We'll discuss it later. Okay. Is it possible to execute the query directly in my Power BI desktop? Instead of loading the table one after other, better I'll execute the query here itself. In this case, I'm going to click on OK. Look here, there is an error here. There's a bug in the latest version of the Power BI desktop. I don't know why Microsoft did not notice this before launching this new version. So I recently installed they installed the Power BI desktop. See, if you look at after 1.5 months or 2 months, when you try to reinstall the Power BI, you will see the latest version will get installed. Okay. Okay. Now the database name is Supply Chain Analytics. See here it says optional. You can specify the database name or you don't have to specify it. But it is mandating us to enter the database name. Supply. Here you need to specify the database name as it is Supply Chain Analytics. This is my database name. Server name, database name. But previously it was not asking the database name. When I loaded the tables from SQL Server one after the other, it was not asking the database name. Okay. So, but when I use the query, though it is optional, database name is optional, it mandates us to enter the database name. Fine, I just specify the database name also. Now I'm going to hit OK now. Let's see what happens. The query which I typed it, that was sent back to my SQL Server. The output of the query, now we can see it in the Power BI desktop preview window. The data in the preview has been truncated due to size limits. Okay. So smartly, it displays few records instead of displaying the entire query result. Okay. And I'm going to hit the load button. Rest of them, you ignore it. I'm going to hit the load button. I have used the import connectivity mode. Remember that. Where can I see the query's output? Look here, the default name for the query is query 1. If you submit another query, the output will be created with the query 2, something like that. Can you see it here, the query 1? Can you all see it here? Query 1. And next to that query 1, you can find this icon. When you click on this, it will get expanded. You can see these two columns only have used it in that query, right? First name and sales amount. Do you remember it? First name and sales amount. See, I can execute the query here itself. Instead of executing the query, I'm doing it via the Power BI desktop. Because I need to create the charts here, right? In the SQL Server, I cannot create the chart. That is the reason why I'm firing the query from my Power BI desktop. Fine. So where can I see the data here? Can I see, since you have used the import mode, yes, you can see the output here. When you click on the query 1, you can see the data here. Look, a lot of data is there. In the preview window, it was showing only a few data, but we can see a lot of data are there here. Very good. This is import mode. Okay. Next, the same thing, can we try to direct connectivity mode? Yes, click on the SQL Server. Here you just paste the query is there in the clipboard. And I just go back here, click on the connect database engine, and here you just copy the server name and then you paste it here. And then the database name, okay, I'm going to leave this blank. I just select this query here, copy this query, and then I will paste it here. All right, I'm going to select now. This time I have selected direct query. Please remember that previously I've used the import. Now I'm going to use the direct query. But when then I expanded the advanced options. Here only I mentioned the query. Okay. The same thing we did it previously, but previously we are using import connect mode. Now I have selected the direct query mode. The direct query mode, the data will not get loaded locally, isn't it? So when I hit the OK button, it is asking, as usual, it is asking the database name. It is a bug here. Okay. And look, let me do one thing. I just rename it and yeah, copy it and then paste it here. Yeah, good. Instead of typing it, I just did the copy paste. I'm going to hit the OK button now. Great. So in the direct connectivity mode, it was able to get the output. So this is the output for the query, and I'm going to hit the load button. Query 2 will get created. If you fire another query, query 3 will get created. Okay, and let's wait for some time. Look here, query 2 got created. The default name is query 1, query 2, something when you use a SQL query directly. Okay. And I'm going to click on this icon. I can see these two things. This time I go to the data view and I'm going to select the query to look here. We don't see the data here because for this SQL query, I have used the direct connectivity mode. Whenever you drag and drop anything, for example, I'm going to create a visual here, table visual and query 2. Okay, I just put the first name here and then sales amount. When I drop it here, this query will be sent. The moment when you drag and drop it here, the same query will be sent to your SQL server directly, and then it will get the data here, output here. But whereas in this case, what happened? I have used the sales fact table and dim customer dimension. Okay, that is a different thing. Look here, we will ignore this one at this moment. I'm going to create another table. The same column I'm going, but in this time I'm going to use the query 1. Query 1, I have used the import connectivity mode. Query 2, I have used the direct connectivity mode. Since the query 1, I have used the import connectivity mode, the data is available locally. Hence, the performance will be pretty fast. Since the query 2, I have used the direct connectivity mode. The moment whenever you drag and drop it, what will happen is the query will be sent to your SQL. Each time your SQL server database will be queried in the case of direct connectivity mode. Both of the output are same, but what happens is in this case, the query will be sent directly to your SQL server. But whereas in this case, what happens? The data get loaded into a Power BI desktop itself. Whenever you drag and drop it, what will happen is this data is available locally, hence the performance will be pretty faster. Whereas in this case, each time when you drag and drop it, it will query your SQL server table, which is available in SQL server, right? So hence there will be a performance issue here, but whereas in this case, it will be pretty faster. But the advantage of direct query is you don't require data storage here. You don't have to store the data. You don't require the storage space here. In the case of import, if the query, let's say if the query returns 50 million records, you need storage space available in the system. Okay. But if the data volume is very huge, then you can go for direct query mode because the data will reside wherever it is. Only thing is from Power BI will generate in the Power BI generates the query and then it sends the query directly to your SQL server. The output of the query only will be sent back to your Power BI desktop visual or so. In that case, the performance will be faster. You don't need additional storage space. Already, I have 100 million records are in sales fact table in my SQL server. Again, why do I have to duplicate the 100 million records in my local system, right? That is not the wise way of doing it. Okay, now the question is, yes, Pavi madam, she asked this question. So what is that, when should I use import, when should I use direct connectivity mode? We will have a detailed discussion, don't worry. If the data volume is moderate, then you can go for import mode. Okay. The data volume is too huge data. That too available in SQL Server also, right? In that case, you can go for direct query mode, direct connectivity mode. It is as simple as that. Imagine if you try to, if you use import connectivity mode to load the 100 GB data, 100 million records in a local system, it will take a lot of time, isn't it? In that case, don't use import, use direct connectivity mode. Okay. And the classic example for this one is, I just go back to the data view because, you can see the blank screen there. Somewhere here, okay. Here what I do is I will just show you exactly what is happening. For example, in your visual, you have a column chart. This is all of you must have used this column chart, right? You might call this a bar chart or column chart, okay? This is your column chart. This is available on Power BI desktop. Here in the x-axis, this is what your x-axis, this is what your y-axis, and here you have the region. Let's say north region. You do business in 4 regions in India. Okay, north region, south region, and west region, and east region. Only 4 regions are there. You wanted to see in each region what is the total sales we made. So north region, let's 2 million, and south region, let's say 3 million. Here you have 5.5 million, and here you have something like how much? This one is 2 million, right? So here let's 1.8 million. All you need is each region, what is the total sales? How many records you needed? North, south, east, west. Only 4 records data that you needed. Okay, all you need is the summary. What is the summary here? North region 2 million, and south region 3 million, and east region you have 5.5 million sales we made, and this is the revenue. Okay, in the west region, okay, in the west region, and you made 1.8 million. Okay, this is what 4 records only you needed. These 4 records data where it is available in SQL Server, but it is not available in 4 records. Instead, you have the sales fact table. In this table, you have 100 million records are there. 100 million records, which is which is of your 5 years data. This is your SQL Server. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is your Power BI desktop. Yeah, this is what I already mentioned. This is your SQL Server. Okay, this table is available here, but your Power BI desktop, what it does is it generates the SQL query. What was the SQL query? Select region, comma, sum of sales from which table? Sales fact table. And okay, and group by region. This SQL query will produce this output. Since this SQL query produce this output, and when you use the region, the x-axis and y-axis, it will create a chart something like this. So what Power BI does is smartly, in the case of the direct query mode, step 1, it generates the SQL query. This query will get executed in the SQL Server against this table. This is step 2, and then the output of the query, the 4 records, will be sent back by my SQL Server. This is step 3 to my Power BI desktop. So how many records it sends back? 4 records. Out of 100 million records, only 4 records. It will send it back to my Power BI desktop. The Power BI sends how many lines of code? Just 1 liner, maybe 2 lines of SQL query. Sending 2 lines of SQL query to a SQL Server will not take much time. And also it will not consume the memory and all, right? It consumes very, very tiny amount of memory only. Which one? The SQL query. This query will be sent here and the query will get executed. The output of the query, just only 4 records will be sent back. Sending the query doesn't require too much of network bandwidth or memory. And getting the result back to my Power BI desktop will not require too much of resources. But executing the query here in my SQL Server, obviously it requires the resources in your SQL Server that, that is there already available here, okay? Will get executed here. Only the output, only 4 records will be sent back. Hence, the performance will be faster. In this case, in this scenario, the volume of data is very huge. Instead, you just think 100 million records, if you load it, how much time it will take? It takes, please, 2 days or 3 days time. By the time you send the, data here, and God only knows how many times you will experience timeout kind of errors or issues. Network may break or, so bandwidth may go down. A lot of issues are. Instead, you better use direct query in the case of huge volume of data. Okay, you understood? This is what is happening behind the scene. So this is also called as the query folding. Query folding. In the case of direct query mode, the query folding is happening. The query folding is direct query works only with some source system like SQL Server, Oracle, SAP, and so on. Okay, it doesn't work with all source systems like MySQL Server. The query folding is not possible. It is not working there. Okay, this option, this feature is available only for a specific source systems like SQL Server, Oracle, and so on. So with this, you are able to understand how to connect to SQL Server and how to load a table in import connector mode, how to establish a direct connector mode and load the metadata of a table into your Power BI desktop. We have seen it. And also we discussed the advantage of direct query mode, okay, at a high level. So what is the difference between the import and direct query? When it comes to direct query, the data will reside in the source system only. Whenever you create a visual, it will query the SQL Server database. In the case of import, the data gets loaded into a local, for example, your laptop, okay, in your Power BI desktop, the data get loaded here. Since the data is available locally, when you create a visual, it will go and pick up the data from your Power BI desktop itself. Instead of going to the SQL Server, it picks up the data from your local system because the data is available locally in the case of import connected mode. When can I use import? When can I use direct query mode? If the volume of the data is moderate, then you can use the import. And also the table which never undergo frequent changes, those kind of things you can load it with import connected mode. For example, I have a table called region table. In that, I have only 4 regions are there. I'm not going to create some more regions, or rarely I'm going to create the regions. Hence, the region table will not undergo frequent changes in my SQL Server database. In that case, better you can load that region table locally into your Power BI desktop because this table will not undergo changes frequently. Whereas the sales fact table is a transaction table. Every day customers are raising the orders. Okay, in that case, you can, this table have huge volume of data. It undergoes changes every minute. For example, the case of Walmart, every 1 hour, 10 million transactions are, 1 million transactions are happening every 1 hour. In that kind of situations, if you load the data locally, it takes a lot of time. Again, the data will not be up to date if you use the import connector mode. If the volume of the data is very huge, better you can go for direct query. If the volume of the data is moderate, in the case of SQL Server and all right, better you can go for import. Now you understood what is import connect mode and what is direct query mode, and when you are supposed to use which one, you are understood. And also I have demonstrated how to load the table with how to connect to the SQL Server using import connect mode and direct query mode. Okay, and one more thing is Again, I'm going to show you another scenario. We are already running out of time, right? No, it is 5:10. I just click on this SQL server. This time, what we are going to what we are going to learn is how to invoke a stored procedure from SQL server into my Power BI desktop. What do you mean by stored procedure? Stored procedure is something like it's kind of a set of SQL statements. You just think that way, okay? And we group all the SQL. For example, you want to do reuse for example, we fired the query here. We have executed the query. That's all. The query has gone, right? But it is available here, fine. But if you want to do some kind of complex data transformation, so what we do is we need to write lines and lines of code. If it is simple logic, it is fine. In this case, we have joined only two tables and we selected only two columns. You want to select, let's 10 columns, and I want to join 10 tables. All the tables are having huge volume of data, and also I want to do some data transformation, everything. That kind of situation, what we do is, since the lines of code is more, we create the stored procedure. Whenever you need it, just simply call the stored procedure and it returns the output, whatever you needed. Okay. So I'll just go to the Power BI desktop, sorry, the SSMS, and I will show you the SQL query. Let me just, sorry, stored procedure query. Okay. And here, this is what is stored procedure. Very simple stored procedure. What I will do is, I'm going to create this stored procedure. In which database? In my newly created database. It's nothing but the supply chain analytics. For that, what we need to do is, we need to tell the SQL server, hey, select this database. In this database, you create a stored procedure. So for this, what language you need to use it? You need to use the command called use. Use is a reserved word, keyword. Okay. And use is, let's say in a plain, the English language, select the database. Select. The use is something like select the database. Okay. And here I need to specify the database name here. And what is the database name? 1 second. I'm a lazy guy. I just simply click on rename and then pick up from copy paste it here. Okay. And I just put this database name inside the square bracket. Why? Because we have space is there in the database name. We could see spaces in between. Okay. Hence it will not work. Hence we need to use the square bracket. Now with the help of the use command, I just connect to this database. Followed by this go. Go, we'll discuss it later. I just click on it. Connect. Okay. Currently I am in the supply chain supply chain analytics database. In this database, you create this stored procedure. Create procedure name. Here, this is your argument name. Okay, this is your variable name. Add date and then data type for this. And the begin end, inside this, you need to specify the body. This is where we need to specify the business logic. In this case, what I'm doing is, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to create a simple stored procedure. The logic here is, whenever I call the stored procedure, and if I pass the date, for that specific date, it filters the sales fact table and returns only the data that are available more than this order date. Okay. I'm going to click on the execute now. My stored procedure got created. Okay. Creating the stored procedure is not sufficient. You need to use it. Buying a car is not sufficient. You need to use it. If you keep it idle, what will happen? It is of no use. So how do I use this procedure? You need to use the exec command. Execute this stored procedure. Exec followed by this, you need to specify the stored procedure name. Yes, I mentioned the stored procedure name. And along with that, you need to specify the value for this argument. This is your argument. So what you are doing is, you call this query and then send this date to this one so that this date will get substituted here. It's something like this. Just give me a sec. This date will get copied to this date variable, and then it will get copied here, and then this date will get passed here. So here you will find this value here. Okay, automatically it gets substituted here. Okay, and when you execute like this, so in this case, what will happen is this query will return the records from the sales fact table for the order date greater than this date. Okay, more than this date. Now, take the transactions more than this specific date. We are interested only on that. And for that, I've written a simple stored procedure. I create the stored procedure. And also, I'll just show you how to execute this stored procedure. You just select this one and click on execute. Look here, if you see here, and in this output, the query output, we can see that the order date more than this date. So this is November 2nd November. Anything above 2nd November, can you see 2nd November? No, right? Anything above 2nd November 2021, that record alone, you filter it or you take it. On top of this record, I'm going to do some kind of, I'm going to perform some aggregation, sum of sales amount, sum of quantity. I'm going to do that. So now I have created the stored procedure and I've executed this and I tested it. It's working fine. Simply, I'm going to copy this one and then copy it and then go back to your Power BI desktop. Now again, click on the SQL Server. So in this case, click on the advanced options. You paste this command here. And then here, what is the database name? I just click on the connect database engine, right click on it, copy the server name, and then you paste it here. But here, it is slightly different. You don't have to specify the database name like square bracket. Okay. And I just copy the database name also, and then I paste it here. You remove the square bracket. If I give the square bracket here, it is not working. Fine. Okay. Because we are in the Power BI desktop, we need to follow Power BI desktop rules. Power BI desktop, what it says is, here don't give me the database name inside the square bracket. Okay, I remove the square bracket. I mentioned database name. In this database, this stored procedure is available. Execute this stored procedure using this exec command, exec stored procedure name. And then in this stored procedure, I have used the argument parameter called date. For this, you pass this value. Okay. I'm going to click OK now. Let's see what happens. And here it shows some error here, localhost. Sorry, the import connected. I'm going to select the import connected mode. And if I select import connected mode, nothing is happening. And the direct query. Okay, let me do one thing. What is the wrong here? The new version, I'm posing a lot of issues. The older version, it was the previous version of this one was working fine. Okay, and I just go here. Copy this, and then I just go and say, sorry, not here, and here. If the OK button was not enabled, okay, and even if I select either this or that, there's a problem in the latest version of the Power BI desktop. Anyhow, we will see there could be some problem with the local host. So what I will do is desktop -8K BBDN3. What is this? My laptop name. If you go to the file explorer, there you will find the, I will show you later, okay? This is nothing but my laptop name. For example, okay, if I put Control Alt Del, you cannot see it, okay? When you put Control Alt Del in your laptop, it will show the system name, right? Your lap, that is what my laptop name, 8 desktop -8K. Instead of local host, I replace the local host by the name of this one. Now the OK button got enabled. Very good. Click on OK. When I click on OK, what will happen is this query will get executed, and then this value will get passed to the stored procedure. In the stored procedure, what happens? I will use the query. In that query, what happens? The query will get executed and it returns the value that are more than the 2nd November 2021. Click on OK. Let us see if this is going to work on this new version. It is asking the username, password. Okay, everything is connect. Click on connect. Encryption support is kind of a warning. Click on OK. Ignore it. Click on OK. And wait for some time. Great. Wonderful. Now, instead of executing the query, see, there are through three scenarios. First scenario, I've shown you how to load the tables from SQL Server into Power BI Desktop. Second scenario, why do I need to load the tables here? Instead, I execute my query from my Power BI Desktop itself, wherein in the SQL query, in our example, I've used only two tables. I simply executed the query. Instead of loading the table, simply executed the query. The output, we have seen it. And now the third step, the third scenario, why to execute the query, why to load the table? We go one step further. Simply we invoke the stored procedure. We don't have to write the query. We don't have to have that headache. Simply call the procedure which was created with someone. We call the query and we should know what arguments are there, what value needs to be passed. That's all. Look here, it produced the data view, data preview window. Hit the load button. Done. Super. So now query 3 is my SQL query, and the query 3 is my, because I've used the import connected mode for this, it shows the output of the SQL, the stored procedure. What you're seeing the output. So look here, can you see anything below or on or below 2nd November 2021? No, right? So above, 2nd November 2021 only we can see it here. So now it filtered the data correctly. The SQL stored procedure worked perfectly here. I'm going to click on the query 3 here once gently, and then I'm going to give some input stored procedure. And if I share this to you, it will be helpful for you. And in the case of query 2, the query 2, I have used the query 2, I just leave it as it. In this case, I've used the direct query mode. In this case, I use the import mode. If you see query, you should be able to understand. Query is, in this case, we did not load the table. Instead, we have executed a query in import mode and direct query mode. And the third one is, again, this is also query, but it is stored procedure. Actually, this is stored procedure. Instead of executing the query or instead of loading the table, simply call the stored procedure. I just say no query. Okay, fine. Stored procedure. That's it. You understood, right? With this. We have covered an important topic. In fact, today's session came out very well compared to my past batch. I need to, accept on this one. Okay. Okay. To summarize, what did we discuss in today's session? We have explored how to connect to SQL Server from Power BI Desktop. And before that, we have explored how to load the Excel data into SQL Server. And before that, right, for example, this is 1A and this is 1. Created the database. Created the database. We are done. And then loaded the Excel data into the SQL Server, the newly created database, supply chain analytics. And then what we did, and step 2, scenario 1. What we did, we have imported customer dimension table from SQL Server, SS means SQL Server, okay. And then we have used the direct connectivity mode, direct query mode, or direct connectivity mode. We have loaded the sales fact table, okay, in scenario 1. So here itself, we explored what is import mode, what is direct connectivity mode. And also we discussed about when to use what kind of connectivity mode. Since sales fact, in general, fact tables will have huge volume of data. better you can go for direct query mode in the case of database or DBMS. Okay. And the import connector mode, the volume of data is moderate. And also if the tables are not undergoing frequent changes, in that kind of situation, you can go for import connector mode. And the other scenario is why to load the tables in import and direct query mode. Instead, execute the query directly. Is it possible? So executed SQL query. In the SQL query, I've used two tables, right? You can use two tables, multiple tables based on your requirement. You can write the SQL query directly. You can execute the query from your Power BI desktop. That is also possible. Even this one, we have explored import as well as direct query mode, right? Direct also, both the connectivity mode we explored. And in scenario 3, why to load the tables? I don't want to load the table. I don't want to execute the query. I just want to reuse the stored procedure created by someone else. How to invoke? Here, stored procedure. From Power BI desktop. That's it. We are done with this. Any questions?